Now I would like to invite on stage Ladislav Krištoufek, the Vice-Rector of Research at Charles University, and Eva Jungmannová, Director for Investment and Foreign Operations at CzechInvest. Welcome to this event. We're very happy to have you here. If I may, I want to start with you, Ladislav. So from the university perspective, how do you see the Czech research landscape today, and how do you see your university's transformation over the years from this point of view?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I first need to apologize for not being at the dinner last night, because coincidentally last night was also the ceremony of the 30th anniversary of the R&D board, which is partially an answer to your question in a way, that the way the research is treated in Czechia has quite a long history, and directly after revolution there were some initiatives to move it forward. From the university level, of course, the last 30 years or 20 years have been like the evolution and development had to be huge, and it was. Of course, it can be different with respect to specific universities and specific parts of the Republic. But the way we see it, of course, we have undergone huge leaps with respect to internationalization, also participating in the European programs, etc., etc. So the development has been quite wild, but it's been 30 years, so it's a long period. So it had to be, right?
Okay, so first of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I will just probably confirm what the gentleman said already, that the success or the growth of the innovation infrastructure has been huge in last years. I think in last 10 years we've seen almost 50 new research centers being established in the Czech Republic. Most of it, or maybe all of it, but has been supported or funded by EU funding. So that's the fact that we still continue to benefit from EU funding, and it's a very important source of the innovation for us, for the infrastructure. I can say that we really see excellent results of the science, of the Czech science, but I think we really need to promote it more abroad so that the world knows that we are able to put the research centers on the global map of research infrastructure. And unfortunately, I still feel that there is not enough kind of economic evaluation of these centers. So they have excellent results of the science, but then the application to the market, it's still very low.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move forward, I want to mention the fact that we can take questions from the audience, from our audience here, but also from our audience online. So if we still have about 30 minutes in this panel, so if you think of any questions, you can raise your hand and we'll take them. Similarly, for those watching from home online, they can type in the question on the platform, on the online platform. Okay, so Lukáš, I want to ask you, do you have a response to what Eva said about this lack of translating research into the market?
Yeah, well, basically, long story short, I completely agree. I couldn't agree more, and it's a universal problem of Europe. We are lagging behind our global competitors in terms of the knowledge valorization, in terms of uptaking the knowledge from the lab to the fab, from laboratory to the factory. And this is one of the biggest challenges that the European research area has to face in the forthcoming period. As a coincidence, this year, and it's very timely, given the complex geopolitical situation and post-pandemic situation. The European Commission introduced a new European innovation agenda. The Czech presidency picked up this topic proactively and prepared the Council conclusions on the new European innovation agenda. These should be adopted on 2nd December in Brussels on the occasion of holding the research configuration of the Competitiveness Council. And they should introduce hopefully well-balanced policy mix of measures that should increase the innovation performance, including in the cohesion countries. And I'm very glad that not only the communication by the Commission, but also the Council conclusions are really focusing on these innovation divide issues, and that the measures that will be introduced as new measures, be it Horizon Europe measures within the third pillar or other measures, they always take into consideration that there is significant innovation divide in the European research area, and we really have to strengthen the performance in low-performing countries, and only in this way Europe will be stronger, because Europe always be as strong as the weakest point, weakest area. So we will have to focus on balancing the performance, and as I said before, a part of the solution to this challenge is implementing national-based reform that will go hand in hand with the measures that will be introduced by the Council conclusions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Eva, yeah, please, go ahead.
Maybe I certainly agree with what was said. I just wanted to shortly add that we are really lacking in the transfer and monetization. And from the other side, as was mentioned before, we are of course getting close to the end of or we're not getting close, but we will shortly be getting close to the end of the programming period, and we will need to get the money somewhere, right? And what the Czech Republic is lacking in also is like motivating or attracting the private sector to take part. And that's one thing we are really lacking in, and what also the R&D board now tries to be more proactive, or the Minister of Research also, and it's one of the things that really need to be improved, and we are trying to, or we will try to find ways to make that better.
So how are you planning to do that at the university?
Well, it's not necessarily just the university. It's I think it's the overall level. For the universities, it's relatively specific. At Charles University, we have a separate, like a sister company called Charles University Innovation Prague, which has been established to, like, for the transfer purposes. And there have been some success stories, like with the tests for COVID and things like that. But of course, it's not easy, right? Because the environment is not used to that, it's not set to that. So we are kind of pioneering the way, or trying to find the ways how to make it work. Also trying to motivate other areas of research, because it's of course not easier, but we are more used to the fact that the transfers are in the sciences, or natural sciences and in medicine, but not so much in social sciences and humanities. So that's also a big challenge, how to attract or motivate people from these areas to get used to that their results are being transferred and are being used in real life.
Eva, from an investment perspective, what's your take on that, on this link between science and the application and the market application of science, particularly in the context of shifting priorities at your agency?
Well, for us, definitely the application research is the most important for our clients. So maybe just to explain, CzechInvest is the national promotion agency. So for last 30 years, we've been attracting and supporting foreign direct investments in selected industries, mostly focusing on manufacturing activities and some services. But due to recent economic development and low unemployment rate in the Czech Republic, really currently focus on mostly on investments which are technology intense, have potential for research, and can help us transform the traditional industries of the Czech economy. So We do this on several levels. First, we try to identify new innovative projects and technologies abroad. We have several foreign offices in the most innovative markets. Then we support investments, these kind of investments with their soft lending in Czech Republic. And then we also try to motivate already established investors in Czech Republic to invest in research, expand their research capabilities, their research activities in the Czech Republic. And in order to do so, we need to first promote the Czech science abroad, the whole Czech research infrastructure. And we also connect our investors, our clients, to existing infrastructure in the Czech Republic. So with the motivation, it's really connecting to the research centers. We also try to bring some success stories about tech transfer, about cooperation between universities and the companies. So it really helps other clients to copy it and make it as successful as the others. And just one fact for our clients or the foreign-owned companies in Czech Republic create 60% of private R&D expenditures. So it's really for us kind of success, and we want to continue with it.
Okay, Lukáš, you wanted to come in?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Florin. Just one additional point on this. We're talking about, the gaps in funding and shortages in terms of knowledge valorization. But one of the starting points shall be also closing the gap between the sectoral ministries, sectoral agencies, agendas, policies in general. This is something which is very nicely implemented through the entire Horizon Europe, especially through the Pillar 2. Where various DGs of the European Commission cooperate with DG RTD and the member state stakeholders to come up with the calls that would really reflect the need to come up with knowledge-based solution to grand societal challenges. And I believe it's also one of the challenges for Czech Republic to foster the interface between the research stakeholders, including ministries, agencies, public funding providers, universities, research centers, on one hand, and the sectoral ministries in the area of energy, environment, health, social sciences as well, social policies as well. So there really need to be a fostered engagement, a closer linkage between policymakers, so that each sectoral domain realizes and get used to use the knowledge as a source to come up with novel solutions, to innovative solutions, be it grand societal challenges like climate change or ad hoc challenges like energy crisis, energy transformation, or pandemics.
Okay, thank you. I see we have a question from our online audience, and I'll read it out to you. So the question is there a way cohesion and widening funds could be better used to increase the Czech success rate in ERC calls? Ladislav, do you have an opinion on that? And maybe Lukáš, if you want to add.
Yeah, I think it has been partially answered before that these schemes, like hypothetically they should help, but it's quite hard to say whether they do or do not, because the system in a way is saturated partially. So one of the reasons why I believe that we don't have that many applications for ERC grants particularly, is that the excellent teams are already financially saturated in a way, and the motivation then is relatively low, right? So it's mostly about attracting other excellent researchers to come here and try to get the funding, because for the locals, it's not for everyone, of course, but many of the teams are really already are financially stable, and the motivation to go through the process, which is of course it's long, it's very demanding. The motivation can be relatively low. That's not. I'm not saying we should be getting less money, of course, but the thing is that it's a dynamic game, and in the system it can be tricky. It's complex and everything, and we will see how it develops in the coming years when some of the programs will stop, and it will be really a structural shock to the system. What's going to happen then, right? And then we can talk whether these programs have helped or not. But currently, I think the impact might be like shrunk due to the excellent teams already. Not all of them, but many of them already being financially saturated.
Okay. Lukáš, you wanted to say something about that?
Well, it was already partially said that the cohesion funds might be a part of the problem, also part of the solution on the other hand. But sometimes we call the cohesion funds easy money because there is practically only national competition. You don't compete with the top-notch researchers at the European level. So of course, when you have quite a huge amounts, really, large piles of money coming in through the structural funds, the interest in getting prestigious grants like ERC grants might be a bit lower. Of course, we are trying to stimulate and encourage the research community to get more ERC grants. There are nationwide measures like ERC-CZ program, which is devoted to funding the projects which are evaluated as very well, but they don't get the funding from the European Commission due to the budgetary shortcomings. So there are measures also at the institutional level of particular universities. I think Charles University is a very nice example of that. But still, it's there's no easy solution. If there would be an easy solution to this, we would have already implemented it. But hopefully there will not be a great shock when the current programming period ends. Hopefully we will increase the performance, increase the engagement and participation over those years. And when the cohesion funding is really limited to country, we will partially replace it through the framework programs.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to change topic a little bit and focus on the issue of attracting talent. So, Ladislav, from the university perspective, is that still an issue, and how do you manage it?
Well, of course it's an issue, but that's given automatically, right? So I'm an economist, so brain drain or like competition for talents, it's natural thing that's happening. Now, of course, we can question like how to limit it a bit. But the important thing is that it really starts at the lowest level, because we are usually talking about already excellent teams, how to attract them, how to work with them, etc. But it really starts, if not at the doctoral level or graduate level, then maybe even at the pre-graduate level. And it's already a competition, right? And when we are talking about talents, many Czech universities and the best ones, certainly pretty much all of them, already teach in English practically from the beginning, so that you create the situation when your students, even at the pre-graduate level, when they are excellent, they have very little limitations to run away, right? And it's quite difficult to fight that, because of course it's kind of a good quality stamp for you as a university if you prepare, or for me as an economist, if several of my students go, and I do, after bachelor's they go to Oxford or Cambridge, that's a good thing, right? Because that's a stamp of quality for me as their supervisor. But then of course I lose them, right? So they go away, they don't finish their masters, and it's quite difficult to attract them back. So, for example, at Charles University, we have Primus program, which is specifically meant to attract people from abroad, not necessarily just former Czechs, let's say, but everyone, to attract them here, quite nicely financing themselves and their teams. ideally finishing with the application for ERC grant. But of course it's financially quite demanding for university, but we need to do that to be competitive.
Okay.
But of course if we talk about brain drain in general, that's something that is happening, will be happening, and ideally we should get to the situation when we are more about brain circulation, right, around Europe, rather than talking who took whom.
Right.
Yeah, but getting there is quite difficult, and for Czech Republic and the eastern or widening countries specifically, it is difficult mostly due to, of course, history, but the structure of higher education and how the research fellows are treated. We are not really used, or it's quite new still for the Czech system, the position of postdocs, for example.
Right.
That's relatively new, right? And the idea that after you finish your PhD, you go away for 2 years, and that you do it twice, then you maybe return, you do, you don't. That's not what we're used to, really. It's getting better, of course. We are creating programs. We are trying to figure out how to make it work within the European framework. But just this simple thing, which is still quite a junior thing, right? Because from my perspective, it really starts at the junior research level, where the roots are, and that's where it needs to be restructured, reformed. We could talk about the reform of the doctoral studies for hours here, probably, but that's also very important. The way the doctoral students are financed here in Czech Republic is very, how to put it, non-standard, or I don't know how to put it. We are getting to the point where maybe it will get better, and that's where it really starts, at the junior level, when we can compete, when the system makes sense, and then we can move forward and try to compete with others, and trying to get to the game.
So to implement all these changes, is it just a matter of the university organizing itself a bit better or differently than in the past, or it's also a matter of money and the predictability of funding and predictability of funding.
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Okay.
Yeah. Of course, it's a combination of aspects, right? You as a university, of course, you get a bunch of money. Parts of the budget are fixed to some specific purposes, so you can work with them somehow. But of course, it's about your priorities. But your priorities, in a way, can be set and are set by the state or by the ministry, in a way, and they give you the playing ground. So if the playing ground is fair, let's say, or innovative, then it's easier for you to be innovative. If it's not, then the incentives in the system are problematic, right? So you can be really a pioneer and try to do excellent things, but at the cost of your own budget, pretty much. You can do that, but if it's hard to do it in long term if you're not motivated or incentivized to do that from the governmental level.
Okay, thank you very much. Eva, I have a question for you. In your introduction, you said that CzechInvest is trying to attract talent and investments in research innovation from abroad. So what is your strategy for doing that, and how research infrastructures help?
So for the research or innovation or innovative project attracting, for sure it's important that we know what we have here, what we can offer to those projects, because it's we have to always give them an offer why they should come and set up their research activities here. So it is mostly about the research infrastructure. If it's well developed, if we have enough talent, that's of course one of the most important issues nowadays for all our clients. What is the investment environment and how they can cooperate with the existing ecosystem here. So definitely we try to promote the whole ecosystem, investment environment and in research infrastructure to those investors or research projects. And also we try to connect them with, even before coming to Czech Republic, we have tools like Technology Agency of the Czech Republic as, for example, program for collaborative research collaboration programs for Czech Republic and some selected countries. So we try to find or identify relevant projects and match them. And then, of course, when it comes to talent attraction, that's something what we do as well in recent years, because we see this is really the main obstacle for our clients to grow in Czech Republic. And so from the policy perspective, we see many activities in this matter on different resorts, which are not coordinated. So we try to create like a working group on the resort level, different ministries and different institutions, get them all together and make one united strategy. We also want to create one web platform where that would be visible what Czech Republic is, how it is attractive, why the people should come here to work or to study, and also to improve the current infrastructure for foreigners.
Okay. And at the moment, what are the obstacles to that you're facing? What kind of challenges do you have in doing all that?
So to attract the innovative investments, that's the main obstacle is the talent. That's why we also try to improve that. But then we also see other obstacles, as for example, lack of properties. We had a couple of projects this year which were looking for laboratories, and it's not possible to find anything for 500 square meters or above in Prague or in Brno. So I think that's something we need to think of as well now. And then, of course, the infrastructure itself for foreigners or for foreign company, maybe even some language barriers, some policy issues as well. So.
Okay. Are there any questions from the room at this point? Yes, please. And if we can get a microphone, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Do you hear me? Yes. I'm Miklos Györfi from the Hungarian Research Network. Nevertheless, I am retired from the European Parliament, where I used to be a research advisor on research and industrial policy, among others. Two questions. One to Lukáš. In the Brussels bubble, it is well known that participation in the research framework program does not start from the publication of the call for proposals, but from the shaping of the call of proposals. How large is the Czech participation in this? Do you see any problem in that? That's one question. The second question is the European Innovation Agenda. In my view, I am not a specialist in economics, but in my view, most of the instruments which were put forward are economic banking instruments at the European level. To what extent do you consider this appropriate for the national level, and to what extent this can be supplemented at the national level? To give an example, in France, they started in 2010 a program for technology transfer which was of 1 billion budget. In 2017, they established 14 centers of technology transfer. France is not the top of technology transfer in Europe. It is very good, but it's not quite the top. In 2017, there was a review of that, and some of them, one or two, were closed because they were not performing. But the point is not that. The point is that the French government has started its own project, its own internal national project in order to do something in this respect, which is a quite high amount of money. So how do you see that the measures, the economic measures, I would say so, at the European level in the innovation agenda can be supplemented? Do they fit to the national ones? I'm not a specialist in this, but to me, it is a natural question to see whether it fits or not to the local environment and how subsidiarity is working in this respect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. I will start from the end, and I will touch the issue concerning the European Innovation Agenda. Of course, the measures that are being proposed and they will further be implemented at the European level. They cannot substitute the actions to be taken at the national level. From my perspective, personally, I believe that the Horizon Europe measures, when it comes, for example, for EIC, it's only tip of the iceberg. And only projects of true pan-European added value might be supported through those instruments. But of course, it cannot replace the initiatives that have to be implemented at the national level. One of the problems at in the European research and innovation area is that the private capital investments in Europe are still quite conservative. There is quite significantly increasing number of unicorns, of startups, but still the private capital funding is Europe lacks in this area, and our competitors like US, Japan, and other Asian countries, they are well prepared to master the wave of the breakthrough, disruptive, however we call it, wave of innovation. And this is the challenge for Europe, for the European level, but also for national level. For example, in Czechia, we know very well that our legal environment for public funding of research and innovation is very conservative. And we really need to introduce some amendments. There already were some proposals during the mandate of the past government. So hopefully we will make it during this term. So it's a complex set of features. One of them is introducing innovation-friendly environment at the national level that will really encourage the private capital investment in funding the breakthrough or groundbreaking ideas, and the European level will always be just the tip of the iceberg. It may pose good practice examples, but it may never substitute the national levels of all the European countries. If you count the overall funding of Horizon Europe and compare it with the funding of which comes from the state budget expenditures of the member states, it's simply you cannot compare those budgets. So the key will always be hidden at the national level. And coming back to the question concerning the participation in framework programs, yeah, completely agree that the consortia are being established well ahead of the publication of the call. So generally speaking, it's very important to foster the international networking. You have to be a member of a group, member of a network consortia when the call is launched, and then you only prepare the proposal. But the consortia there are getting together already in the phase of preparations of the call, partially because the stakeholders are actively engaged in shaping the programs. So they are well aware which topics will be launched and how should they respond to those. So yeah, it's a general challenge to really get involved in those international networks or European networks, and be prepared once the call is launched, because after that you cannot expect you will be successful if you start putting your consortium or project together only once the call is really online.
Thank you for that, Lukáš.